Think of a Sword Art Online game that brings all the previous game worlds together, as well as a lot of new ones. You can have your sword-based combat from Sword Art Online, Sword Art Origin and Alicization, magic from Alfheim Online, ranged weapons from Gangale Online, feature the likes of Asuka Empire and Apocalyptic Date as slight variations, even other original ones with distinct visual flavors like the Insect Site. Imagine the possibilities. A while back, I talked about the possibility of a Unital Ring game in the Sword Art Online Gameverse taking place after Sword Art Online Last Recollection. Welcome SAO survivors, and today I will be talking about my ideal scenario for such a game, including a game featuring an OC main character rather than Kirito and co. And before you go,
they cannot make a Unital Ring game, it doesn't have an anime and it's not even complete in the light novels.
yeah, as if that ever bothered the Gameverse. We have the likes of Shinon, Yuki, Alice and Yujo introduced in the games before their anime counterparts, some aspects of their stories loosely adapted in games, heck, the Elf War campaign or the Progressive series is nowhere near completion and was even less so years ago, but we all played Hollow Realization, greatly adapting those stories just fine, because what the Gameverse does with canon stories is that it takes the core concept of a story and just builds an entirely new story around it. And Unital Ring, very similarly to the Progressive series and its Elf War campaign, is actually the perfect fit for such an approach, filled with mystery and vagueness, as well as being years away from completion in the source material, allowing the story to truly evolve into a different thing of its own without being too influenced by its main canon counterpart. It's basically an expansive world for an epic story. But before I begin, if you're interested in the world of Unital Ring, at the time of this video's making, we already have 6 volumes released. You can grab them by using the link in the description and jump into this mysterious world early on without having to wait for the anime or a hypothetical game concept ever coming into fruition. First off, I'll start by pointing out that we already had a setting similar to the world of Unital Ring before in the SAO game series. Without going deep into spoilers, there are quite a lot of reasons why the world of Unital Ring is considered to be the world that lies underneath Ainground. There are more things to point out, but the simplest and most spoiler-free thing I can mention, which I imagine most of you will appreciate in this case, is that the world of Unital Ring features these huge circle-shaped valleys, for the lack of a better word, the size of which matches the size of a given floor in the floating castle of Ainground, largely implying that the story of Unital Ring takes place in a world after the Great Separation. And this world, specifically speaking about the land underneath Ainground, whether pre-Great Separation and even during the event of the Great Separation, was already partially featured in Hollow Realization called Ainground. So combining everything with that idea established back in Hollow Realization, Unital Ring, being a game that pulls all seed-based games into one, could simply be taking the groundwork established by Sword Art Origin, the game world of Hollow Realization, which would be a neat narrative link for the Gameverse to have. It would be an especially good connection considering the kernel system back then was still trying to follow Kayaba's commands, and it was at the end of that game that Kirito received the seed from Kayaba in the SAO Gameverse. So we can definitely act like it was all part of Kayaba's plan, who is teased to be behind all the Unital Ring incident in the main canon. So, we got our narrative background right there already. How about we start moving on to the game, and we'll stick with the story side for now. As I mentioned in my intro, I envision this game to be for an original player character rather than a Kirito main character one. In fact, we'll keep Kirito's side to a proper minimum, unlike Fatal Bullet that shoved everyone everywhere for marketability, and we'll have a proper story justification as well. I'm getting ahead of myself already, mainly due to how bloated the Unital Ring arc is in the light novels so far. You see, in the light novels, Unital Ring arc is 2 parallel ongoing sub-arcs: progression in Unital Ring the game and the state of Underworld from Alicization. Our Unital Ring game, being an original character game, will exclusively be able to focus on the Unital Ring game side of things. The underworld things will be happening, of course, but from our perspective, the OCMC, it'll only lead to Kirito and some other characters like Asuna and Alice regularly being not available to play Unital Ring. After all, as a complete rando, we won't have much information about the state of affairs in Underworld. Not any, in fact. And you can shush about the Fatal Bullet MC. He wasn't even a character and is now a delivery boy. He was terrible, just let him go as a character, he's done. We'll try to make sure this new one actually works properly. Anyways, you create your custom character and select your origin game. Your choice is largely an early game class choice in a sense, since during the forced conversion into Unital Ring, you maintain your highest ranked skill and your current set of equipment while being reverted to level 1 as a player. Of course, your equipment bypasses any stat requirements it may have during the early grace period, which allows you to have an easy tutorial portion for our Unital Ring game. This origin game choice should provide minor differences in story context. Imagine you picked Asuka Empire as your origin game. You'll have a pre-rendered cutscene showcasing your as well as your partner's forced conversion from Asuka Empire into Unital Ring because, as we know from Integral Factor, a likable partner character is vital for such games where you are technically mostly mute. From that point onwards, you start playing with your samurai or ninja inspired Asuka Empire build if that was the game of your choice, focusing on a variety of sword based combat. A mixture of sword and magic if you picked ALO, gun combat if you picked GGO, a little bit more mobility and ability based if you picked Apocalyptic Date, etc. You get the idea. At the end of the day, your origin choice is just meant to give you a small head start in a specific proficiency type, and you can switch focuses down the line in the game and unlock everything. But regardless of which origin game you pick, your spawning location will be near where Kirito, Asuna and Alice managed to land the loghouse initially. Have the usual tutorial period where you land in a monster nest or something and fight through with your partner, and end that chapter with the opening announcement of Unital Ring under the Borealis effect pointing to a specific direction. To the first to reach the land revealed by the heavenly light, all shall be given. That is the tutorial system announcement given by the Unital Ring system. Because at the time of the forced conversion, you were grinding out with your partner in a remote field back in your origin game, and that's why you don't appear in the world of Unital Ring alongside other players from your origin game, which forces you to wander around relatively aimlessly discovering this new world with your partner. Over a short period of time afterwards, you come across a group of players being attacked by a huge thorn spike cave bear, this huge monster that shoots lightning spikes everywhere from its back. You, alongside your friend, decide to help the 3 players you come across who suspiciously have no armor at all, and while the girls at least have a simple white tunic, the boys running around like a caveman with only underwear on. However, the bear is too powerful for you to defeat in the gameplay section, and you end up defeating it in a cutscene through some creative means as a group, and the light novel readers already caught up to how we link to the story of Unital Ring at this point. The group you helped here is Kirito, Asuna and Alice, and after your help you agree to join them. As they have not yet met with any kind of betrayal, they don't suspect you as well, so you can actually become friends early on. There can be additional dialogue if you have picked any game but ALO as well as your origin, as that will create the initial suspicion of this no longer being ALO beyond the idea that it was just some surprise event maybe, perhaps. And beyond that, we can just generally roll with the story of Unital Ring, loosely speaking, including the usual Sword Art Online Gameverse cast, Philia, Stress, Seven and Rain, GGO crew later down the line in the story whenever we get to meet the GGO players. However, Tia and Premiere are nowhere to be found, and nobody can contact them either. And that's where we'll start getting the hints that the world of Unital Ring may be more familiar than once thought. Including stuff from the main series like Argos trivia about huge circular lowlands that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, combined with Gameverse having 7 around with our knowledge from Sword Art Origin. And the rest of the story is, technically, just play the game. I know I harp on Fatal Bullet so much because play the game is not particularly an engaging story, but with Unital Ring we have Mutasina's gang, other games stirring trouble, NPC tribes with their own lore and importance to the story of Unital Ring, and pretty much all the more. And the reason I mention NPC tribes is that, well, they will be integral to the plot of Unital Ring, ranging from Kismel and the Dark Elves being the first huge hint at why Premier and Tia are not around. Because remember from Hollow Realization, those two are NPCs themselves with a backstory, and Unital Ring has converted them into its lore/story, much like it did with the Lusulans, the Elves. And you know, at that point, the Gameverse can do what the Gameverse does best: tell its own original story. Kirito, Asuna and Alice regularly disappear due to their involvement with the underworld side of things, but it barely gets a mention. We're not going inter-intelligence war anyways. Give us an engaging, exploration-oriented, semi-open world game. Maybe include some of the expansive survival mechanics, although I would personally prefer if the survival aspects, they are left for the story alone. The game would already be very expansive as is, and more would just end up being too overwhelming in general in my opinion, and I'm not even gonna mention how superficial most of the survival mechanics feel in the canon story anyways. I don't think we need to cram much more than we absolutely have to into this thing. Naturally, with Kirito and Asuna missing half the time, the game will have plenty of time to give other characters the chance to shine, as does the main series. We can have things like Shilika teaching us how to tame monsters, Shinon teaching us tactics and strategy or how to use ranged weapons, Leafa and Yuki teaching us different sword styles, Lisbeth and Rain our guides to blacksmithing, and the like. Since Unital Ring is a culmination of all Seed games, it opens a lot of avenues for us to experiment, and most of these characters can be our guides in a variety of ways. But, you know, that's all just a proof of concept to build the perfect Unital Ring game. We all know Last Recollection was the final game, even ended with an extensive epilogue, but let's be real, when you're a cash cow series, it's the final game only until the next opportune moment to make a tie-in. And whenever we eventually get our Unital Ring anime, that will be that opportunity. It's still very much years away. Unital Ring in the light novels is far from completion. Speaking of the light novel, again, 6 volumes of Unital Ring are already written, and while I keep almost everything under wraps in this video in regards to spoilers, you can learn a lot more by reading the latest arc yourself. Amazon links are gonna be down in the description, make sure to check them out, and you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. But that was basically all I got, just shaping a potential Unital Ring premise in the Sword Art Online Gameverse. With that, a huge thanks to all my patrons and channel members as always. Your likes are always appreciated, and if you have any questions or comments, just drop them down below. I read and try to respond to all of them every single time. I'll see you all in the next video, and until then, stay cool.